Hi, I'm Pastor Brian Schwertley of Reformation Fellowship, Reformed Presbyterian Church.
And I'm Pastor Stephen Pribble of Grace Orthodox Presbyterian Church. Welcome to Reformation Forum, the program relating the unchanging truth of Scripture to current issues.
Tonight's subject is the animal rights movement. You've heard of environmental wackos on the Rush Limbaugh Show. Well, tonight we're going to be looking at the not the environmental movement, but the animal rights movement. A movement that cares more about cockroaches and about weeds and about species than the human race. So it's going to be a very, very good show. We want you to pay close attention. You know, Stephen, what is the animal rights movement?
Well, the animal rights movement is a movement. I think that's a really good description of it. I don't think it's tightly organized or anything like that. It's a loosely organized movement of individuals that are seeking to ostensibly to bring rights to animals. But in reality, I believe their main goal is really the destruction of the human race. Because the animal rights movement, they really hate people. That's really what it all boils down to. Some individuals that are involved, Ingrid Newkirk, Dave Foreman, Jeremy Rifkin, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals is one group. You've probably seen some of the things that they've been involved with, such as bombing research facilities and so forth. But ostensibly, they want to promote a cruelty-free world, and they want to stop animal testing. They want to put an end to what they call the senseless death of fur-bearing animals. They want to expose the meat and dairy industry's cruelty, and on they go. Interestingly, I came across a statistic, Brian, that is shocking, really, and this was done in Britain, where a recent poll found that 50% of the respondents said they thought scientific experiments on animals were wrong, but only 35% opposed abortion. Actually, there's more people in Britain that think that, that experimenting on animals is wrong than even opposing abortion. But here are some of the things that these people are saying. This came from Ingrid Newkirk. A rat is a pig, is a dog, is a boy. All on the same plane. There's absolutely no difference. Here's another claim made by one of the proponents. The smallest form of life, even an ant or a clam, is equal to a human being. Now, I think intuitively most people know that's wrong. There's something wrong with that kind of a statement. And by the way, let me just say at the outset, I love animals. I really do. I enjoy touring some of the animal facilities over at MSU. I know the PETA people wouldn't like those, but I enjoy looking at the cows over there. I enjoy farms. I enjoy my own pet. I have a couple of pets in my house, and one of them comes and sits in my lap all the time, and I enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we were even joking we should have brought my little pet poodle Nicholas tonight, but he wasn't really up to being on this program, and probably the PETA people would have thought that was cruelty anyway. Here's another couple of quotes. 6 million Jews died in concentration camps, but 6 billion broiler chickens will die this year in slaughterhouses, as though it's all the same. We feel animals have the same rights as a retarded human child. Anyway, the animal rights people wrap up their plea in cuddly pictures of cute little animals, and they have a plea for compassion and all of that. But I believe that their underlying philosophy is really an intense hatred for the human race. They are out to abolish all human use of animals. Now think of what that would mean. No milk for babies, no seeing eye dogs, no insulin for diabetics, no testing, no miracle drugs that would come from animals. Their attitude is that humanity is the cancer of nature. Man is always and everywhere a blight on the landscape. They really have an intense, seething, underlying hatred of people.
Well, you know what really scares me about that is I wouldn't be able to buy cowboy boots anymore. It'd be terrible. No more leather belt, those cheap plastic belts. Oh, that'd be terrible.
Indeed it would. All right, well, Brian, tell us a little bit. What have these animal rights people been doing lately?
Well, they've done a number of, well, you have to make a distinction. First, there's the real radical ones, and these are the ones that have actually blown up labs. They've blown up research facilities. They spike trees out in the forest with spikes So when the loggers come and they have their big chainsaws, it hits a spike, a man can get killed. So they have more love for a tree, which does not have a rational soul, contrary to what these people may think. A tree is a tree, it's not a man. And this guy who's chopping the tree down can be killed when it breaks the chainsaw. They've damaged all sorts of equipment, they've damaged roads, and they've caused a lot of havoc. Those are the real radical, wacko environmentalists. Now you have the more, quote, moderate, and they're not really that moderate environmentalists like the Sierra Club and Nature Conservancy and all these type of groups. And they're basically socialistic. They believe in evolution. They believe that man is not unique in God's creation. And they want basically to destroy man so that the little gerbils and the little rabbits and everything can run free. It's crazy. It's just ludicrous stuff. But they, like Stephen said, they appeal to people's emotions by showing a picture of a furry little animal. And they had one article about the sweetness of a little piggy and all this stuff. And it's just crazy stuff. But there are different levels of groups. One thing they have in common, they believe in big government. They reject private property rights. So they reject God's law, because God says, thou shalt not steal. Okay, they love big government. They're socialists. And what they want to do is they want to make all land in common, suppress property rights, and all sorts of stuff. And you've probably heard some of the stories about the man who ran over a rat with his tractor. They confiscated the tractor, and he was fined thousands of dollars and all sorts of things. Or the man up in the Upper Peninsula who had several hundred acres, and he built a beautiful lake, a gorgeous lake, in an area that was a swamp. And he was fined just a ridiculous amount of money and threatened with jail and everything because he built a beautiful lake on his own private property. They're taking our freedom away, and they're doing it in the name of, snails, snail darters, in the name of rats, in the name of little bugs. It's insanity. And don't get us wrong, we love animals. We believe, before the fall into sin, man was a vegetarian. Okay, there was no death. No death. Man ate grains and fruit, and everybody was a vegetarian. But after the fall into sin, God allows us to eat meat. God allows us to eat chickens. God allows us to, have cattle and to kill them and use the beef and to use the leather. There's nothing sinful about that. And, these people are just completely rejecting biblical Christianity. Stephen, let's get beyond some of the stuff and just look, what is their true agenda? They have this agenda, and are their members really aware of what's going on?
Well, Brian, I believe that they do have an agenda, and I believe that we ought to take these people seriously when they say such things as arson, property destruction, burglary, and theft are acceptable crimes when used for the animal's cause. Or when they say things like the optimum human population for the earth is 0. These people are serious. And I think that a lot of people that are, because they see these lovely little animals in their ads and so forth, and they're induced to get out their checkbook and write a contribution to the cause, I don't think they're aware that these people are really not for animal rights so much as they are against the human race. They're against that which God has created, which is really the pinnacle of his creation. Here's something that came off the Larry King show. What would happen, this individual was asked, if you have a child, the child is dying of diabetes, it needs an insulin injection. The only way to get it is from a lamb. Do you kill the lamb in order to get the insulin so you can save the child, or do you let the child die? And the answer comes back, I would not knowingly have an animal hurt for me or my children or anyone else. And so these people, and they are involved many times in destroying property, in arson, in bombing laboratories, in destroying laboratory equipment. And this is, I believe, what they're really after. They're after anarchy, and they're after really the destruction of the human race. I really think they're not going to rest in peace until the human race is destroyed. Now, are they smart enough to figure out if the human race is destroyed, they go along with it? I don't know. But I really think that we ought to take them seriously. And I think that many members, and I was doing a little surfing on the internet today, trying to get a little bit of information about the animal rights movement, and I came across an organization that will print checks for you to use in your checkbook, that the proceeds from these checks go to the animal rights movement. And I think a lot of people get out their checkbook and they write a check, or maybe they're involved in passing out leaflets, or maybe they think if they stop eating meat, if they become a vegetarian, then somehow that's going to preserve the planet. I don't think they're aware of what the true agenda of the animal rights movement is. Well, Brian, is it legitimate, biblically, is it legitimate to use animals for research?
Absolutely. It depends what the research is for, first of all. Now, if you're going to save human life, if you want to test antibiotics, the development of insulin, the development of vaccines, the fight against heart disease, the fight against cancer, absolutely let people use animals to better mankind. Mankind has an immortal soul created by God. Man is the pinnacle of creation. Animals do not have a rational soul. Animals do not use language. Animals do not have communication the way humans do. They bark and screech and oink and all that. And they have a very minor type of communication, but humans communicate rational. They communicate rational thought. We're the pinnacle of creation, and we believe that animals ought to be treated with respect, but if they can save human life, by all means. Now, where it becomes an issue of it's probably not wise to have animal research is for things like perhaps cosmetics or shampoo and things like that. That's possible. We could say that's not really necessary to save human life. And that's getting a little extravagant. But in the area of medicine, that's part of our dominion over the earth. The sin, when man fell into sin, it brought death and disease to mankind. And part of taking back the earth and having dominion over the earth is to develop medicines and to help get rid of disease and to help mankind. And those animals that are helping in that are doing man a very great service. So it's absolutely legitimate. And those people that want to do away with that, they love death. The Bible says those that hate God love death. And these people hate God and they love death. And they are wicked people. They're wicked people. And they hate humankind because they hate God. Because they hate God, they hate the image bearer, which is man. That is the truth. That is the reality. Stephen, what does the Bible say about how we are to treat animals?
Well, Brian, you've already spoken to this issue when you said that we ought to treat them with respect and we ought to be kind and so forth. It's interesting. The book of Proverbs has a lot to say about interpersonal relationships, how we are to get along with our fellow man. It's a very practical book. But right in the middle of the book of Proverbs, in Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 10, listen to this little proverb. It's just a terse saying, and it packs so much wisdom into this one little verse. It says, "A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel." The people for the ethical treatment of animals try to say that using animals in research, or even having a pet, that's cruel. I jokingly said something tonight about, I should have brought my little pet dog. He's awfully cute. He'd probably upstage Brian and me. But my little pet gets a clipping every once in a while. He's a poodle. And sometimes I joke that what poodles do best is grow hair because, he has to have a clipping from time to time. But that little animal, and he's a friend of the family. He's really a part of the family. And that's why we put up with it when occasionally he messes on the carpet or he brings in something from outside that shouldn't come into the house. We put up with that sort of thing because really he is, in many respects, a member of the family. But if I were to take my little dog Nicky and just turn him loose and just say, well, it's cruel to keep him as a pet, and I'm just going to let him stay out at night, you know what he would do? He would probably come up onto the back steps and he'd whimper. He'd want to come into the house. Believe it or not, we come back from our walk, he and I, at night. We try to go for a 20 or 25-minute walk at night, and we come back, and he wants to get into his cage. He's tired. He wants to settle down and go to sleep for the night.